In the next 30 minutes, deadly COVID-19 Indian variant wreaking havoc in India and ravaging the United Kingdom detected in Ghana, with health experts describing it as the most infectious.
Overall, we have about 45 different variants. The trend shows that all these normally come from travelers. Now that the Delta is taking over, it's just a matter of time before it'll come here in large quantities. So we have a few here, but it's going to increase.
We hear from the head of the West Africa Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens, who says the AstraZeneca and Sputnik V vaccines will not be effective against this new strain.
Now we have to be looking at the right vaccines. All this while we've been fixed on AstraZeneca and Sputnik V. We have to start shifting towards looking for Pfizer and others, which have a better chance of protecting against these variants.
Also, tonight, Eastern Region Police Command deploy men to maintain calm at Accra Senior High Technical School after a student attacked a teacher and stabbed the school security officer in the chest. We have details of that story for you. Plus, Attorney General serves notice he might be forced to initiate contempt proceedings against some members of the Fix the Country campaign. One of the campaigners has meanwhile dared the AG to proceed to cite him for contempt.
I am urging him to go ahead and take whatever process that is available to him under law. After all, we have always believed in the legal process. However, if that statement was made only to intimidate and in the hope that we would somehow back down from pursuing what is just and what is right, I assure him that that would fail.
Also tonight, former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine stands his ground, taking on the Chief Justice's petition against him before the General Legal Council, insisting he said nothing to harm the integrity of the judiciary. Meanwhile, the main opposition NDC is asking the Chief Justice to withdraw his petition, warning the party will resist what they call judicial tyranny.
The notion that the judicial arm of government is beyond reproach is but a fantasy which cannot be sustained and shall resist any judicial tyranny with all our might. We hereby state categorically they will not succeed.
And in business, World Bank introduces new measures to check Ghana's rising debt stock, which has hit over 300 billion Ghana cedis, and other countries at risk of debt distress.
You want to stay with us for the latest here on Newsnight. My name is Mensah. It has emerged tonight that the most contagious and the most deadly COVID-19 variant currently ravaging India, in fact originating from that country and wreaking havoc in the UK, currently has been recorded in Ghana. Head of the West Africa Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens, WAPKIT, Professor Gordon Awandere, confirmed that the Indian variant, also known as the Delta variant, is one of the 45 variants which are currently in Ghana. The Indian strain has caused huge spikes in India and a serious increase in cases in the UK, despite the fact that large sections of the population are vaccinated. Professor Awandere says the AstraZeneca and Sputnik V vaccines will not be effective against this particular new strain. He was speaking to Daniel Dadzi on Prime Morning on the Joy Prime TV.
Overall, we have about 45 or 46 different variants. The trend shows that all these normally come from travelers. Now that the Delta is taking over, in fact, it's taking over the UK. It's now the most prevalent in the UK. And it's taking over most of East Africa. So it's just a matter of time before it'll come here in large quantities. So we have a few here, but it's going to increase. We have to go back to being serious about, the protocols. And also tightening the screening at the airport and the mandatory quarantine. These are very important to limit the influx of the new variants. And if we're able to do that, we may be able to avoid a third wave. Now we have to be looking at the right vaccines. We all this while we've been fixed on AstraZeneca and Sputnik V. We have to start shifting towards looking for more of Pfizer and others, which have a better chance of protecting against these variants, because the future is these aggressive variants. That's where we are going. The UK strain would probably recede soon. It will be replaced by some of these new variants.
There are new variants coming out every few months. So does that mean that we are going to have to vaccinate ourselves again when, there's another strain in the system that is different from what Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer can fight?
Yes, that's the reality, that this may be similar to the flu, that every year or every few years we have to adjust the vaccine to suit the prevailing strains. And so that's why local manufacturing and vaccine development is important.
What does this mean for us now in our fight against COVID? I want to bring in right now Kwame Sapon-Asiedu, of course, the CDD fellow. He himself is in the UK, where the variant has now caused the UK authorities to postpone the reopening of the economy there. We'll also be speaking tonight with the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Franklin Exidu-Bekwing, who also joins us via Zoom. But to you, Kwame Sapon-Asiedu, on this, what does this mean for us? You are in the heart of it in the UK, seeing how this is affecting the UK health system. Now that we have it recorded here in Ghana, what does this mean for us?
Thanks, Evans, and good evening to listeners and Dr. Exidu-Bekwing as well. What does it mean for us? The truth of the matter is, if you look at the case numbers in UK, the link between infections and hospitalization and death seems to have been broken. I mean, the latest data from Public Health England, which was released today, suggests that a lot of the people who are getting hospitalized are much younger, who have not been vaccinated, or older people who got vaccinated. That data goes on to point out that one dose of AstraZeneca or Pfizer gives you a protection around 50 to 55% after the first dose. Pfizer is slightly higher at about 64%. The AstraZeneca can drop to about 43-44%. But after the second dose, both of them are equally protective against this Delta strain. In fact, as a result of that, early today, there was a toying with the idea of opening up the economy on July 5th. But more importantly, because of this latest development, the UK is looking at allowing people who have been vaccinated, have had double vaccines, and have had a period of 7 days post their second dose to be able to travel even into amber countries, countries where vaccinations are low and prevalence rates are high, but return back to the UK without quarantining, because the data is clearly showing that if you're fully vaccinated, you are all but safe. So that is the slight change that today's data has. But obviously, Professor Wendari was speaking based on the data as at last Thursday. I'm talking about the data that has come out this afternoon, which he wouldn't have been aware of. And that is the beauty of this thing. It is evolving so quickly that you need to be up to date with the latest information to be able to update the general public. What does it mean for Ghana? What it means for Ghana is this is very, very contagious. I mean, it's 2.5 times more contagious than the original strain that came out of Wuhan and came to Ghana. The reproductive number is between 5 and 8. If you look at the one that came in December, which was from the UK, it was between 3 and 5. And that tells you that if you drop your guard, you're going to get it. And if you get it, the problem that is happening in the UK, and even though the mortalities are low, is that because it's so contagious, hospitals can easily get filled up if it affects the elderly. The luck the UK has had and why hospitalization is not going up is because those at-risk populations have been vaccinated.
Yeah, and he raises the question about so what the strategy should be going forward. That's why I bring in Dr. Franklin Exidu-Bekwing, who is the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, joins us on the phone. Dr. Bekwing, will this trigger a change in strategy, or at least a refining of a strategy that we're currently pursuing?
I'm thank you very much.
Hello, Doc.
I think that. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Doc.
Hello?
Yes. Dr. McCray,
Yes, so,
yes.
yes, so I think that basically if you look at our strategy, it's about we being able to detect cases as they come from the outside the country, like at the airport. And I think that we will continue to do that. So far, our FDA has actually confirmed that the test being done at the airport is in the right direction. So most of the cases that we are actually getting are cases that are actually detected at the airport that demonstrate that our airport is working. If it comes to the community, I mean, that is the time that we are looking at doing our contact tracing. And clearly now, as I speak, we have teams in all regions and districts. So what is done is that these teams actually follow the contact and we receive the contact tracing, and then the testing is being done. If you look at the treatment, we have actually moved from our initial two-bed facilities to about 23 centers.
Sorry, Dr. McCray, I apologize. We have a terrible connection to you there, but I guess the point you made about both strengthening monitoring at the airport, but also looking at community spreading of this is when we can kick in a changes in our strategy as we monitor this closely. I'm grateful that you joined us with our thoughts there. Let me give a quick word to Kwame Sapasiru. He's on Zoom so we can get a clearer line to him. Very briefly, he mentions that it's when we spot this in the community that I guess we need to sort of think about what do we do to change the strategy. Should government change the strategy?
I would say that, yes, I agree with him, but I would say we need to improve compliance. Changing the strategy, what does that mean? It all means that we need to go comply with the social distancing, hand sanitizing, face masks, and all the other things, avoidance of crowds and enforcement. I don't think there's any other tool in the tool bag to fight this pandemic apart from these. Suffice to say we get vaccines. So changing the strategy is not really the question. It's about complying with the strategy.
Okay. He's back on a better line. Dr. Bequin, you're making the point about what you're doing to monitor in the community and what that will mean for the strategy going forward.
Yes, so as I said, as I was saying, our main issue is that most of these variants actually come from the airport. And clearly, Ghana is one of the few countries that actually doing this antigen testing at the airport. So that is a rationale or the basis by which we're able to detect this reasonable number of cases at the airport without they getting to the community. So what we're doing is that if some are negative, we try to follow them, assume that they are contacts, and then we'll randomly test them. For now, we don't have the evidence that particularly this Indian strain is in the community. So what we have gotten is the cases that were actually detected at the airport. What we are doing as a ministry and as a service is that we want to make sure that we do more of genomic surveillance, not just about a survey, so that we can be able to be sure that where the Indian variant is in the country, we show where they are and then we pull them up. We have teams in all the districts and the regions who do contact tracing. So they follow up the cases and then we test them. And also I want to say that clearly, as we speak, we have an improvement in our bed capacity, managing even severe and critical cases. So now we don't have that challenge of being able to manage the cases outside Accra. And then the challenge also was about availability of oxygen. Now we have got an improvement in our oxygen capacity. So clearly, we are a bit better off compared to the early stage of the year, early part of the year, to manage severe and critical cases. So I think that for now, that is what we are doing.
Okay. Dr. Bequin, thank you very much for your time there. I guess the message is clear now. Be careful that the strain is more contagious and can be more deadly if you have not been vaccinated, and so pay attention to that. To some other stories now, police at Odumase Krobo in the eastern region have deployed men to maintain calm at Cross Senior High Technical School. A student attacked a teacher who was invigilating an exam. That same student is alleged to have subsequently stabbed the school security man with a broken bottle in the chest. The incident, which happened last week Thursday, saw scores of students destroying school property and pelting police with stones. A teacher who pleaded anonymity provided Joy News with details of the incident.
We had this new story building on campus, and he was invigilating a paper on the down floor, and then the floor just above him. Some of the students had finished their papers earlier, so they had come down there and then they were chatting among themselves. So the teacher complained to them that they were disturbing their colleagues who were by then taking the paper downstairs. And then when it so happened that, I don't know how he confronted them, but they got annoyed, and then one of them chanced on him, wanted to beat him for telling them to keep quiet. So,
well, a student who also didn't want the name disclosed said they staged protests demanding the police release a colleague who was arrested as a result of the incident.
The whole issue was between a fight between a student and a security man. And so the fight was like the security man was trying to provoke the student, and the student was trying to defend himself. The other security men came and attacked the student and were beating him, and then as he threw, and the teachers were surrounded and they were saying they were supporting the securities to beat the student without hearing his opinion, and they removed his dresses and they beat him up. The boy was also trying to defend himself, so he also took a glass bottle and cut the security man. So they left him and he ran away. So the next day, we the students decided to demonstrate against it, because what they did was absolutely wrong. It was a human rights abuse.
Odumase Krobo District Police Commander Superintendent Doris Zakwa Hokpati said the police have deployed officers to deal with a possible reprisal at the school.
Student was arrested because he served a security man, and as we talk now, he has been billed and he was supposed to report today to the investigator at the station.
But what exactly transpired according to the briefing your men gave you on the incident?
According to the brief my men gave me, they said when they got there, the students ran away. Some threw stones, but none of the students was beaten. I was there on Saturday myself. I went to the campus and everything will come.
But would the police be maintaining some level of security in the school given what has happened?
Said the police, we have a night patrol team going there, and then we have intelligence officers around. So we are monitoring the situation very well.
And that is the Odumase Krobo District Police Commander Superintendent Doris Zakwa Hokpati. Well, the Attorney General, Godfrey Ibuadami, has served notice he will fix the country campaigners who make comments that bring the administration of justice into disrepute before the courts for contempt. He made this known during a court case in which he is seeking to restrain the Fix the Country campaigners from hitting the streets to stage a protest. The campaigners say the AG has no business defending the Ghana Police Service in such a matter. A Facebook post by one of the conveners during court proceedings, however, caught the AG's attention. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
A member of the legal team for the campaigners, Julius Asinyo, urged the court to dismiss the case. He explained that it cannot hear a matter bordering on the Public Order Act filed in the name of the Republic instead of a police officer. He also raised a second objection regarding the signatory to the court documents. He stated that they are signed by one Thomas Safu, who does not indicate whether he is an attorney at the office of the AG or with the police service. He concluded by stating that the current case is of a civil nature and the Attorney General's office has not been named as a defendant. Attorney General Godfrey Ibuadami described the application as completely misconceived and a misunderstanding of the fundamental laws regarding this application. He explained that every step within the context of the Public Order Act is a criminal matter. He continued that under Article 88 of the Constitution, the Attorney General is responsible for the initiation of all civil and criminal matters involving the Republic. He further rebutted a claim that the police service is a separate legal entity. He responded that it is a pure public institution and its office is empowered by law to act on its behalf. Justice Ruby Aite adjourned the matter to June 25 to deliver her ruling. The AG then notified the court of a Facebook post by one Bakavooks calling him a puppet master. He indicated that he may initiate appropriate contempt proceedings against such commentary should it continue. Justice Aite urged the AG to ignore such comments. Mr. Dami responded that such comments by persons who are part of the case is not appropriate. The said Facebook handle has since posted yet again, this time explaining that the Public Order Act does not entitle the AG to use the police as puppets. The conveners of the protest are meanwhile hopeful of a favorable court decision on Friday.
We're hoping that our legal team have made a good objections, and then that will be taken in good faith by the judge, and then the ruling will be made in that regard.
I suffer as much as the normal Ghanaian suffers, and it's something that's been within my heart. It's sad. It's sad to see Ghanaians not being able to survive.
Well, convener of the group, Beka Vomowo, whose Facebook post was read in court, has dared the AG to go ahead and cite him for contempt.
Now, importantly, today the Attorney General intimated to the court that since I had written on Facebook that his appearance was a revealing of the puppet master, that he was going to take action against me. Now, I have made it clear, and I've urged him to go ahead and take whatever actions he thinks he can take. Because our argument to the court is clear that Section 1(6) of the Public Order Act does not entitle the Attorney General to use the police as his puppets. Puppet master means somebody who is controlling something from behind the scenes. For the very first time, the Attorney General revealed himself in court. So if that is not understood, I am urging him to go ahead and take whatever process that is available to him under.
Well, that's Beka Vomowo challenging the Attorney General. Well, after business, we'll hear from the former Deputy Attorney General, Dominic Ayine, who is standing his ground, taking on the Chief Justice's petition against him before the General Legal Council, insisting he said nothing to harm the integrity of the judiciary. Bring you details in his official response to that complaint. We'll also hear from the main opposition, NDC. They are asking the Chief Justice to withdraw his petition, warning the party will resist what they call judiciary tyranny.
The notion that the judicial arm of government is beyond reproach is but a fantasy which cannot be sustained and shall resist any judicial tyranny with all our might. We hereby state categorically they will not succeed.
George Wafe is here with business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, World Bank introduces new measures to check Ghana's rising debt, which has reached over 300 billion Ghana cedis. And now there are fears that the country could be classified as debt distress. And Bank of Ghana targets 17.4 metric tons of gold over the next 5 years, a move expected to boost its reserves and put it in a strong position in the long term. And Evans, you know that since 1962, we haven't added even one gold to our reserves as a country.
Interesting. That's a long time.
Even though we are called Gold Coast or having strong gold events. I'll be getting you more details on that one. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business and Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, and Allianz Life. Let's now settle for the details. Now, World Bank says it has introduced some measures that could help check Ghana's rising debt stock. The country is currently classified as high risk of debt distress, and there are concerns that things could get out of hand as borrowings have hit record levels because of the pandemic. There are calls that Ghana should stop borrowing as a move to help actually deal with the situation. The government says that could be impossible, but World Bank Country Director Pierre Laporte says these new measures could bring some extra check on Ghana to deal with the situation.
The description of Ghana today is a country at high risk of debt distress. So in any country, when you are there, you say, no, I'm not worried, then it's irresponsible. I'm sure government is concerned, but like I said, they had good reasons to allow it to deteriorate in every country in the world, my country, everywhere. Now, the important thing, as you say, is what is done now. What government needs to do now, in our view, is to stop it from escalating further. And for us, we are also putting into place mechanisms today that will prevent countries from overborrowing. Under the new cycle of finance, IDA 19, for the first time, countries were told 10 to 20% of your resources will be put aside because you have to put in place certain actions to stop you from overborrowing.
And that's the World Bank Country Director, Pierre Laporte. Now, the Bank of Ghana has indicated that it is planning to buy a record gold from the local market over the next 5 years. It is looking at buying about 17.4 metric tons during this period, a move that could help have it a strong, sustained reserves over the next 5 years. This is coming after revelation that the last time Ghana increased its gold reserves was in 1962. Stephen Opata is head of financial markets at the Bank of Ghana.
This is one of the key reforms that we set to do for ourselves since about a year and a half ago. We were looking for a way to buy gold domestically and be able to convert it into a foreign asset. And the way we are able to do that is because we are paying in cedis. If we're not paying in cedis, then we might as well just buy the gold from anywhere else. So that's the key to this, that we have people who will sell us gold and we can pay in cedis. So then, effectively, we can use a domestic resource to build a foreign asset. So it's very significant. It's very significant, but of course, this should be supported by other monetary policy indicators that we are looking at. Like, for example, we want to make sure that we are going to pay by cedis. So the quantum of cedis that you are using to buy this gold can go outside this. It can go into the system. So you have to mop it, right? So this cannot just be done in isolation. It has to be done with other policy measures that we are looking at. And I've mentioned that we should be able to mop the cedis that goes out. Yeah.
But for you, do you believe that it will go a long way to also send some signals to investors in terms of you having a strong reserve position? Because
you got it exactly right. This whole thing is about managing sentiments. The fact that we can build on our gold reserves, give other participants or stakeholders we are dealing with, especially non-resident investors, the comfort because they know we have foreign assets to back up our transactions.
Stephen Opata is head of financial markets at the Bank of Ghana. Now, chief executive of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement System, Archie Hesse, wants demand for physical cash made expensive. He believes this could be one of the surest ways to discourage the use of cash and deal with the culture where the challenge actually people are demanding for money for means of use. His proposal is coming at a time that there has been seen a spike in bullion van attacks. He believes that going this way would aid the country's agenda of a cash-light economy and also help deal with this challenge.
That's where we are. I mean, apart from education, I think that we should also make the use of cash very, very expensive in this country, and that would deter or at least move us all very quickly into electronic payments.
You think that is the way to go?
I think that is something that would help.
When you make cash expensive to hold?
Because there must be a situation, because the services are there. And what fascinates me, George, is that I hear this culture thing.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is what you are buying has also changed. So if what you are buying has changed, why don't you also change your payment method?
Chief Executive of the Ghana Interbank Payments and Settlement System, Archie Hesse. To the stock market, Cowbank lost a peso to close at 70 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Emefa and Evans.
Well, thank you very much, George. You're still listening to News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, he's facing the possibility of severe sanctions, including losing his license to practice as a lawyer, but that has not stopped former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine to stand his ground in the face of allegations of misconduct leveled by the Chief Justice himself. The Chief Justice has caused Dr. Ayine to be hauled before the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council. In that particular petition to the General Legal Council, the CJ alleges that he misconducted himself when he made disparaging comments at a CDD event which discussed issues bordering on the practice of many of the Supreme Courts in reviewing cases with election petitions. Well, that issue has become one of the topical issues which has led him to be hauled before the General Legal Council Disciplinary Committee. He has his response now. The Chief Justice, of course, caused Dr. Ayine to be hauled there. In his official response to the charges, Dr. Ayine, who is also the MP for Bolga East, was clear he stands by his opinion. In fact, argues that he said nothing that disparaged the court To be very specific, he says, I wish to state that I stand by the opinion I expressed at the said roundtable discussion. I am firmly convinced that the opinion I expressed neither imperiled the independence of the judiciary nor did it cause any actual or potential harm to the reputation of the individual justices who sat on the case. He says, on the contrary, I was engaged in a constructive criticism based on my reading of the unanimous judgment of the Supreme Court in exercise of my constitutionally protected right to freedom of speech. Now, he also referenced the CJ's own account of what he must have said, or he is alleged to have said, in relation to his previous contempt charge against him before the Supreme Court. And he says that in the complaint, the Judicial Secretary, acting on behalf of his Lordship, the Chief Justice, refers to the fact that the Supreme Court had discharged me on a charge of contempt for similar comments made against members of the Supreme Court during the election petition. Now, the complaint further states that I apologized profusely when I appeared before the court. With all due respect, and this is still quoting to his Lordship, the Chief Justice, I find the reference to the contempt proceedings brought against me by the Supreme Court, headed by the complainant, and from which committee against me discharged, complainant, and from which I was discharged by their Lordship as an attempt to poison the minds of the members of the committee against me. Well, he makes the point that he was in this discussion not acting directly or practicing his law, because the law that the CJ had come under relates to when you misconduct yourself in the direct practice of law. Well, the opposition NDC tonight, on the back of that, is asking the Chief Justice to withdraw his petition to the General Legal Council. The General Secretary of the NDC, John Sasiu Nketia, served notice the party will continue to criticize the Apex Court over its handling of the 2020 election petition.
Dr. Ayene's views about the independence of the judiciary are views he is entitled to, in line with his freedom of expression. He stayed within the bounds of professionalism. He was neither scurrilous nor scandalous. For him to be accused by the Chief Justice of disparaging Ghana's judiciary over these tempered and justified comments is not only bizarre and unfortunate, but speaks volumes about the Chief Justice himself. Our Constitution and laws protect the integrity and independence of the judiciary and not the sensibilities of judges. Judicial vanity is a threat to justice and must not be countenanced in any democracy. We therefore join all well-meaning Ghanaians to demand that the Chief Justice withdraws his petition against Dr. Ayene forthwith. We further serve notice that as a political party, we are keenly following events and shall resist any judicial tyranny with all our might. After the 2013 election petition verdict was delivered by the Supreme Court, lawyer Sam Okujeto, at a symposium organized by the Dankwa Institute, took some of the justices of the Supreme Court to the cleaners and gave his own interpretation of the judgment, contrary to what the court had determined.
Well, Mr. Surinkete also believes there is a deliberate attempt by the CJ to intimidate lawyers affiliated to the NDC.
To the letter from the Judicial Secretary to the Disciplinary Committee Chairperson of the General Legal Council, statements that Honorable Dr. Ayene Dominic made during a panel discussion on presidential election petition and their impact on Africa's democracy, organized under the auspices of the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, calls for such disciplinary action. During the panel discussion referred to above, when asked about what he made of the independence of the judiciary in the wake of decisions in the course of the recent 2020 election petition, Dr. Ayene stated his honest well-reasoned and well-researched view as not only an academic of so many years standing, but also a lawyer of high repute.
And that is Johnson Sirin Kitia. He is the General Secretary of the NDC. Now, President Akufo-Addo has announced government's plan to establish a permanent army barracks in the Upper East region to help deal with terrorist threats along the borders. Addressing the paramount chief of the Boko traditional area, the president said government was well aware of the threats from terrorist groups in neighboring Burkina Faso and that the security forces are being resourced to deal with it.
These murderers and criminals who want to destabilize and terrorize our lives in Ghana. But whenever you are aware of the measures that the government is taking to strengthen the security agencies here and protect us from terrorist attacks emanating from Burkina Faso. And I'm happy to inform you that a permanent barracks is going to be established here in this area to be able to address the issue of terrorism.
And that is President Akufo-Addo there, and he's touring the Upper East region. And that's it for News Night tonight. That's my opinion. We'll be live on the Joy FM Facebook page at 7 p.m. And you can also call into the show. Remember, it's 03022111693. Well, the lights are taking over as we look ahead to the next big game in the ongoing European tournament. My name is Evans Mensah. Enjoy the rest of your evening.